What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fernando's Rant of the Day. And this morning, I was listening to my boy Les Brown. Are you guys familiar with who Les Brown is? So Les Brown is a motivational speaker, multi-millionaire, really successful guy in his space. Grant Cardone was heavily influenced by this guy, Les Brown. And the reason I listen to this stuff is this motivational stuff, educational material, is because the way I view it is you always need jet fuel in the tank. This stuff is like jet fuel, rocket fuel. If I'm a 747, this is my rocket fuel. Without the rocket fuel, a 747 is essentially a giant paperweight. You don't want that. You need the jet fuel, right? So that's my jet fuel. And Les Brown this morning, he was talking about something that, I listened to it before, I've heard it before, but by listening to it over and over again, which I do, you get different layers of meaning from the same material, which is fascinating. So just because you already heard a material or you already heard a message, you want to revisit it to make sure you have all of the nuance from that material, from that message, because there could be hidden gems in there that you missed the first time. You ever watch a movie and then the third and fourth time you watch the movie, you're like, oh, I didn't notice that. Wow. And it adds a whole nother meaning to the movie. Well, knowledge and information is the same way. So just keep that in mind. So I was listening to Les Brown this morning, and he was talking about the three types of people there are in this world. And this made a lot of sense to me. So there's three types of people that he talks about. He says there's winners. So who are the winners? So the winners are people who have already figured out how to win. They've established really good habits of thinking, really good habits of behavior, and it's now a muscle that they've developed that they can just win on command, right? These are the winners. Now, winners tend to not really need information like this, motivational, educational material as much. But the ironic thing is these are the ones who tend to listen and watch and study the most. Kind of ironic there, right? So the winners don't really need material like this because they've already figured it out, but they tend to be the ones who gravitate to this material more than the other groups. So there's the winners. The other group is the losers. So who are the losers? The losers are people who chronically lose. And it's really sad because, I was, for a long time in my life, growing up as a kid, I fell into that category. I was chronically losing. I could definitely define myself at that time as a loser because I was chronically losing. Now, what characteristics define and describe the losers? So the losers have a losing way of thinking. Their mind is on what went wrong, what's going wrong, what could go wrong, what is wrong, what went wrong, and what could go wrong. And that's where their mind focuses all of their attention, right? So the loser loses up here before he or she ever loses in the act of, trying to achieve whatever they want to achieve. So there's the winners, there's the losers. Now the thing with the losers, they can't handle material, like educational material, very well because it gets lost in what I call like the black hole of their mind. It just gets sucked up into the vortex of their chronic negative thinking, and it goes into a very cynical place because the loser, and I know because I've been there, I'm not judging anybody, I'm just saying I've been there before, and a loser will justify their position to the death because it's just a defense mechanism. So usually the losers of life would never listen to material like this. You can't reach a chronic loser. They're just not ready. They're going to just justify their position to save face, right? So there's the winners, there's the losers. Now there's this other group of people that are fascinating. This other group of people have not discovered how to win. They see the winners, they want it badly, like, wow, but they see it as, wow, they must just be magical people. Like, I'm just kind of average, I want to win. I'm definitely not a loser, I have pretty good habits of thinking. I know things are possible. I'm optimistic. I just have not discovered how to win. I don't have the strategy, right? That's who this material is really intended for. That small niche of people who want to win, they just don't know how. They think it's just some magical thing, winning and being chronically winning, but they just haven't discovered how to win. So that's who I'm intending these messages for, really, that group of people who want to win, they just haven't figured it out, right? So those are 3 groups of people that you can fall into. Now, in my life, I've been each of those. So no judgment passed. Things happen in life that open your eyes, and then you shift over to the next way of thinking. Now, the thing that characterizes the people who win, who figured out how to habitually win, I'm just going to talk about, there's a lot I can talk about that group of people. I'm going to focus on one little piece, and this is that this group has dealt and overcome their inner conflicts. Well, what is this inner conflicts thing? So inner conflicts is when you go to take action, you take 2 steps forward and then you take 3 steps back. You have some kind of inner conflict. You figure out what the right strategy is, you employ it, and then you kind of hesitate. You stall, like you just don't take the full action. You try it, doesn't really, you get scared, so a lot of fear comes up, anxiety, and then you just pull back. So usually these are signs, especially if you feel like you're in that 3rd group, that you haven't discovered how to win. If you start taking steps forward, but then you fall back to the way you were, your old pattern, there's probably an inner conflict in you that has to be resolved. Well, what does this look like? So a few years ago, I was mentoring this girl, and she started calling me because she knew the success I was having in selling in my company, and she called, okay, I want to be able to be more consistent with my results in selling. So she called me, she's like, what do I do? What do I need to do? So I started giving her prescriptions of things to do, books to read, material to study, and she kept calling me back and saying, after a few months, she would call me back and say, I'm not getting the results I want. I'm not getting it. What's going on? Help me out. And I was like, well, we already covered this. Okay, tell me. So I started, digging into it a little bit. Tell me a little bit about those books and those chapters in those books specific, because I gave her specific instructions. I wasn't being super abstract. I was like, specifically, you need to work on X, Y, and Z. That's going to need this chapter from this book. You're going to need to read this entire book and this chapter from this book. And she's like, oh, the sales books. I haven't read those sales books. I haven't read any of that. And I was like, why? And she said, oh, because that's your thing. That's your thing. You do the sales books things, I don't. So she had this inner conflict. I gave her the prescription for the things she wanted, but she had this inner conflict to where it was like, oh, well, that's your thing, right? That's one example. So basically she was saying, I want to be a mathematician, but I don't want to read the math books because, well, that's your thing. No, the math books were the solution to the problem that you're asking. It doesn't matter if it's my thing. The reason it's my thing is because that's where the solution is, not because I invented it or it's my thing. So she had this inner conflict, and then she was able to resolve it, and then she gave these sales books a chance, and then she started reaping the results from it. Another example could be if you have an inner conflict. Let's say you want to be in a relationship. I've been there before too. I want to be in a relationship, but I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. I don't want to answer to nobody, but I want to have a fruitful, committed relationship. That's a conflict. That conflict has to be resolved for you to be able to stay in alignment and take action. So how do you deal with these inner conflicts? First of all, you have to identify what objective it is you want, and then see if you're being pulled in 2 different directions. Maybe you want to make a lot of money, but in the back of your mind, you were always taught the money is the root of all evil. And you really have this belief system in your head that money is the root of all evil. That's going to keep you from being able to gain a lot of money, right? It's an inner conflict. It has to be resolved. So how do you do this? You identify what the conflict is, right? And then you decide what's most important. What am I going to keep my attention on? What's going to give me the most benefit? Maybe I need to reevaluate those belief systems that I have and align myself with what I truly believe. Do I believe that money is the root of all evil more than I believe that I need to have financial income, like high financial income, and gain a lot of money and gain as much wealth as I can? Or is the money is the root of all evil? Those things are in conflict. They have to be resolved, right? So what I want to encourage the group, the people right now who have not discovered how to win, discover what, if you have any inner conflicts. Some of you, these inner conflicts are keeping you from the next level. That's why I'm bringing it up. Not all of you, but some of you, these inner conflicts you have are keeping you from the next stage of development. You're being pulled in two different directions. You have two different messages in your head and you're trying to marry them, but they're mutually exclusive. You can't want all of the free time to yourself and want a committed relationship. You can't want to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and have a great relationship with a girlfriend or a boyfriend. These things are in conflict. So you have to decide what's most important. So basically what Tony Robbins talks about is you have to unlock the vault of these inner conflicts, identify what they are, and then you'll be able to unleash once you decide what's most important today, right now. Okay? So that's my encouragement to you. Figure out if you have any inner conflicts with chasing your dream, and then resolve to decide which one of those ideas and concepts means more to you today, right now, because being pulled in two different directions, you'll never take the kind of action that you can take if you're in complete alignment, you're completely sold on one idea, and nothing's gonna hold you back, okay? Do you see the difference? So have a great day. Let me know if this encourages you. Leave your messages, and have an awesome day. Take care. Bye.